Nic Stone, author of Dear Martin, recently visited our school. She gave us an insight on the background of the book and how it relates to current events.
So I started writing books 4 years ago. I was 28, and it took me a while to start because I didn't know that I could write fiction. I'd been reading for forever, since I was young, but until I was in my late 20s, I just wasn't sure I could do it, I could write it. And I just decided to give it a try because I was in Israel at the time, and we moved back to the United States, and I needed something to do, so I decided to try and write a book. Dear Martin was sparked by a combination of really three things. The first was continuing to see the news reports of deaths of unarmed African American teenagers. And then in response to that, we had the Black Lives Matter movement kind of kick off. And then I kept seeing people quote Dr. King kind of in opposition to the Black Lives Matter movement. There was this kind of pervasive notion that he would be opposed to it. And that didn't sit right with me because it's exactly the type of nonviolent protest. It was the exact type of activism that he participated in the 50s and 60s. So I really wanted to explore this idea of, what would Dr. King say? What would he do if he were alive today and kind of witnessing current events? And that's really where the novel came from. And so I decided to have this kid who was dealing with this stuff writing to Dr. King and kind of trying to process life through the lens of Dr. King's teachings.
I had my students on the first day that we started reading the book write about a time they were stereotyped, when someone who didn't know them made a judgment about them. And I just got story after story, and and they talked about it more at the author event because Nic Stone actually asked, how many of you have been followed around a grocery store before? How many of you have had this happen? Tell me your stories. And even though they were a little hesitant at the beginning, I reminded them, hey, you've already shared all these stories in writing with me. I've seen that all of you guys have had these experiences. And so it made me feel that in order to make our country function better, we have to do a better job of actually living up to our promises as a country of equal opportunity, of everyone being treated, fairly, equally, having equal justice under the law. And I feel that we're at a point in time where there's potential for us to go backwards instead of forwards.
All right, so did you like Dear Martin more compared to other Shakespeare books that teachers typically make you read in class?
Yes, because Dear Martin is like a story telling about how African American boy had to go through life not being like the same as other people and being judged on who he is. And it's like Shakespeare kind of do that, but it's not like relatable to this book.
What about Dear Martin is the most relatable for you as a high school student?
Trying to figure out who my friends are. Like people saying that they're your best friend, they're really not your best friend, and trying to fit in with other people that really ain't no point of doing that, so that's like the most part that I really like about the book.
We don't have to give in to what other people think of us. We don't have to be a stereotype. People might place stereotypes on us, but that doesn't have to define us. And that's a lot of work, especially for teenagers, to comprehend and to deal with. But as they grow up, I just would like them to take away from that talk and this book that ultimately we all are the masters of our own destinies, and that there's going to be obstacles in everybody's life. Some people are going to have more than others, but it doesn't have to prevent them from achieving their goals if they are set and determined to achieve them, and that there are people out there who have been through the same experiences, who've achieved, but there are also people right here in this school and in this community who are actively working for a better community, a better world, and that they can be part of that.
I really want people to read this book and find themselves somewhere in it and use that, whatever they find, to kind of juxtapose the other perspectives in the book. So the goal in writing the book the way that I did was to present all of these different perspectives so that you can kind of bounce ideas off of everyone in the book and off of all of the perspectives that you see. So I really just want people to be willing to think a little deeper and be willing to take a look at themselves, take a look at the world around them as it is, as opposed to, you know, how we would like for it to be. And then once you see it as it is, you can kind of move toward making it how you would like it to be, I think.